Hey, I'm Tom Llewellyn with Civil. As you know, we focus on economics, we focus on government performance, and we stay away from the cultural, woke, kind of whatever you want to call it, politics, because it's, death by Twitter firing, right? It's crazy. But I want to take a moment because it's really about science. I'm a science guy at heart. I love analytics. I love the data. I love information. And transgenderism is actually about the science, right? It's really clearly articulated. And so, when people like Hillary during the convention in 2016 saying, I love science, it's important for us to note that that's a good thing if you mean it. I don't think she's talking about climate. I don't think she's read anything on climate necessarily in the scientific arena, probably a lot of opinion pieces. But here's the deal. That you take a moment, that we all take a moment and learn a little more is pretty important, especially this century. Science is more important than ever, right? And I've got one more example, and this kind of broke my heart. Our new Supreme Court Justice, extremely bright woman, very nice, very genteel, asked a question about, well, can you define a woman for me? One of the questioners did, and she said, well, I'm not a scientist, I can't do that. And it's like, she broke my heart. I mean, we all took 9th grade biology. We kind of understand what's going on. Just recently, Vivek Ramaswamy, who's running for president, was asked by Chuck Todd after Vivek said, there's basically two genders. And Todd goes, well, are you a scientist? And it's kind of like, you don't need to be a scientist or a mathematician or anything to understand some basic facts. Like 2 + 2 is 4. It's pretty straightforward stuff. Don't need to be a mathematician. But we've known for over 100 years that the 23rd chromosome is either an XY for men or a YY for women. It's just what it is. And if you are one or the other, you are one or the other, a man or a woman. But beyond that, over 200,000 years, when we look at each other, we've kind of understood there's some differences. Now, sexuality, altogether different thing, right? I mean, there's a huge spectrum from being lesbian or gay to being maybe bisexual to being, heterosexual and real, the guy or a woman who just wants to have sex all the time, or the people that are more tempered in their sex and aren't like that. I mean, there's this whole spectrum, and that spectrum is well defined probably in many genes across many chromosomes, right? They're just different. Your gender is different can be very different than your sexuality, right? They're two different things. So here's the deal. Kids need to grow up, right? You go through all kinds of changes as a kid, even before puberty, actually, and after puberty. Leave the kids alone. This is an adult decision. If there are questions in your mind as a young person, this is an adult decision. You don't want to change something in your lives or provide all kinds of drugs for this person's life, presuming that something they said at 10 is going to be the same as when they're 26. It's not necessarily. Let them grow up, let them be who they are, and they can make a decision when they're an adult. And and that's, I can think, directed at kind of the more radical ideas on the left or the radical ideas on the right. You can't have drag shows or whatever, blah, blah. Leave the adults alone. If a guy wants to dress up and go and be in a drag show, or you want to go to a drag show or whatever, leave the adults alone too. This is nuts. This is craziness. This is just a bunch of unscientific, irrational discussions that are getting neither side anywhere, but alienating the rest of them. Hopefully normal folks that are going, hold it, what are we talking about? Anyway, last thought, leave the kids alone, leave the adults alone. I'm Tom Llewellyn. Look forward to talking to you again.